So quite possibly one of the biggest changes that I've noticed in my time with Windows 11, something that kind of affects me on an everyday basis, is the context menu of files and folders. So when you would right click on a file, normally you'd be hit with a massive menu of all the different context options that you have with a file, and then you would scroll through and choose what you need to do. But what Microsoft have done now with Windows 11 is they've made it so all the things that you would normally do with a file, cut, copy, paste, rename and delete, things like that, they've made it all nice and accessible within a compressed menu whenever you right click the file. What if I need to access that main context menu, the one that I normally would see when I would use Windows 10? Well, it's not gone far, it's just down the bottom, so we click show more options, and as soon as we do that, we've got the entire context menu that we would normally see whenever we would right click a file with Windows 10. In Windows 11, there's now an option to hide everything that is on your desktop. So you can right click and that'll bring up the context menu for the desktop, and then we can go into the view options, and under there's a handy little icon that says show desktop icons. So currently that's ticked to show that I want to see my desktop icons. If I uncheck that, all of my icons disappear, and then I've now got a nice blank slate, so when I do start sharing my screen and if I accidentally go to my desktop, then they're not going to see files and folders everywhere. So one of the key things you may have noticed about the Windows 11 upgrade is that the taskbar is no longer located in the lower left hand corner with its own dedicated search box. So one of the main things that you may have noticed when you start using the taskbar is the start button. The start button would normally bring up all your applications and pinned icons that you would normally use, but now it's separated into two main sections. You've got your pinned icons located at the top part of the screen, which allows you to pin all the icons and applications that you use most often, and you can just pop them in there, and that way you can see them and you can get to them nice and quick. The other section is the recommended or recently opened documents. They would all be in the lower portion of this menu, and this allows you to open up anything that Windows thinks that you might use again, so it would recommend it to you. Say if LibreOffice wasn't in our pinned icons, what would we do? So my first reaction, rather than going to the start menu and then looking for everything, is to actually use the search. And the search function on Windows, between Windows 10 and 11, has come a long way. So if we wanted to find LibreOffice, we just go ahead and pop that in to our search box, and then it would find the application, and I can scroll down through and choose whichever one that I need to access. So when using Windows 11 for the first time, or you're using a brand new computer that's fresh out the box with Windows 11, they're going to have a few things pinned on the taskbar that you just might not want to be there. So by default, you will have the option to have your virtual desktops, you can use your widgets, and the chat icon will also be there. But what if you don't really use them, or you're not really interested in one or two of them? What can you do? Well, you can right click on any empty space on the taskbar and go to the Taskbar Settings. And in there you have the option to change the taskbar items. So say I don't want to see the task view or the widgets, I can just turn those off. So still on the taskbar, in the lower right hand corner, they've made some significant changes to the system options. So normally you'd have separate options for the sound, network and everything down in the right hand corner. They've now bundled that together into a singular button to make things easier to access. So in the quick options, we would have the ability to look through our Wi-Fi networks and choose our Wi-Fi. We'd have the option to go through our Bluetooth settings, flight mode, nightlight, alarms. Well, I say alarms, this is more to do with the focus. So you'll turn on focus assist, so then it will stop people pinging you messages and alarms going off and things like that. In the lower right hand corner, once you've clicked on the system menu, you can click on the little pencil icon, which is to edit the quick settings, and when we give that a click, we've got all these options that we can do. So we can unpin the nightlight if we don't like that, that's now gone. And then if we want to pin something else, we click on add. And say if I wanted to add the accessibility options, because I like to have it, I like to enable the magnifier, I can just click on that to add the accessibility. There's another aspect of Windows 11 that Microsoft are making a bit more prominent, and that is the use of virtual desktops. So when I say virtual desktops, what exactly do I mean? Well, you've got your main desktop here. You can open up all your applications. So say if we wanted to open up a notepad, we can go ahead and pop open a notepad and we can start working on that. We can start working on our documents. But then what happens if our screen fills up with all the applications that we have on the go? What if we need to do some other specific work that needs its own space? Not a problem, we can create another desktop and then we can flick seamlessly between the two. So how to do that? we can just click down here, and then we've actually got a couple of desktops already on the go. So I've got my first main desktop, I've then got a second desktop with the web browser open, and I've also got a third desktop open with the recordings that I'm currently doing. So if we wanted to flick between them, I can go over to desktop 2. That instantly opens up whatever applications that I have on desktop 2, all completely separate from what I'm doing work-wise on the other desktops. Coming back to one of the main options on Windows 11 that you may have noticed on the taskbar is the widgets icon. So the widgets are just general bits of pieces that you would normally use to find quick information. So for example, I've got the weather open and I've programmed that into where I live, so I can click on the widgets icon and it will show me the general temperature and the general forecast for the next few days. You can also link other widgets into it. So by default, it's already got the Premier League on there and it's telling me the scores that I don't really care about. But then it can link you to all the other scores from there. If you have photos, you can link the photos in there and upload them to your OneDrive. If you're an avid investor, you can keep track of stocks. But then you can also add other widgets in there as well. You can simply do that by clicking Add Widgets, and then we can choose something in here that we would like to use. One of the more interesting aspects of Windows 11 is window management. So before, you can pin windows using hot spaces. So for example, I've got my notepad and I can drag that to the top and then it'll open that up and pin that to that main window, or I can drag it to the left and it'll pin it to the left. I can choose another application to put alongside it. But that can be a bit clunky. You might not like that, or you might want to have some different options that would work well for you. So nice and simple. So on the maximize option, rather than clicking it, if you hover over it, you get a different set of snap-in options. So this is different places on the screen where you can snap this current window. So say if I wanted to snap this window to the top right portion of the screen, I can choose to click that option. It'll put it into the top right hand corner of the screen, and I've got 3 other sections that I can separate out. So at the moment, I don't really want to look at these other 2 sections, and I haven't got any applications to populate them anyway, but I can certainly open up my Office application, and then that would link it into this second portion of the screen.